Hey, hello fairy tale lovers. Welcome to Mega Azo, where magical stories come to life. Every day, we'll dive into a different world. There are magical kingdoms, mysterious creatures, exciting adventures, and beautiful life lessons waiting for us to discover together. Are you ready to fly with fairies to the sky, swim with mermaids at the bottom of the sea, or adventure with a young hero to save the village? Well, if you are ready, let's begin our story adventure today. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss out on other exciting fairy tales every day. Let's make every night or every free moment a magical moment with the best stories. The Moonweaver. In the coastal town of Oakhaven, where cobblestone streets curved like rivers toward the sea, there lived a woman named Elara, who worked as a bookbinder by day and a weaver of dreams by night. Most folk knew her only as the quiet artisan whose hands could fold leather and thread into volumes that felt like they held pieces of the sky itself. But those who had lost their way in sleep, who wandered through endless dark corridors or woke gasping from shadows that had no shape, sought her out when the moon hung full and low over the harbor. Elara's workshop sat at the edge of town, tucked between a baker's shop that smelled of honey and cinnamon by day and a lighthouse that sent its golden beams sweeping across the water each night. Above her workbench, 3 windows faced the moon, and in the space between them hung a loom unlike any other. Its frame was carved from the wood of a single ancient oak that had once stood at the heart of the forest, its thread spun from moonbeams, dewdrops, and the whispers of those who had found peace and rest. It was on such a night, when the tide was high and the wind carried the salt of distant shores, that a man named Thomas knocked at her door. He was a cartographer, his hands calloused from drawing lines across parchment, his eyes heavy with a weariness that had settled deep in his bones. For 3 years, he had not slept through a single night. Each time his head touched the pillow, he found himself back in the same fog-shrouded maze, walking toward a door he could never reach, calling out names he could not remember. "I've tried everything," he said, stepping into the warm glow of her lanterns. "Doctors give me potions that make me feel like stone. Priests chant words that bounce off the walls of my mind. I'm fading, Elara. My maps are blurring. My hands shake when I hold a quill. I fear I'll spend the rest of my days between wakefulness and a sleep that isn't truly rest." Elara led him to a chair by the fire, where a kettle sang on the hearth. She poured him tea steeped with chamomile and lavender, then sat before her loom, her fingers running along the silver threads. "Every sleepless night is a story that hasn't been finished," she said, her voice soft as moss. "The mind holds on to what it cannot understand, weaving knots where there should be patterns. My work is to untangle those knots, to give the darkness a shape it can release." She began to weave. With each pass of her shuttle, silver threads crossed and twisted, forming images that danced in the lantern light. A lighthouse standing tall against a storm, a child chasing fireflies through tall grass, a ship sailing toward a shore painted in shades of amber and rose. As she worked, she asked Thomas to speak of his life, not of his sleeplessness, but of the moments that had once made his heart feel full. He told her of his first voyage across the ocean, when he was just a boy, and how the stars had seemed close enough to touch. He spoke of the woman he had loved, whose laugh sounded like bells over water, and how they had planned to map the world together before she was taken by a fever in the spring. He told her of the maps he had drawn, each one a promise to carry her memory to every corner of the earth. As Thomas spoke, Elara wove his words into the fabric. The maze appeared in the threads, but this time, there was a path through it, lined with flowers that matched the ones his beloved had worn in her hair. At its end stood not a closed door, but an open window. through which poured the light of the same moon that hung outside the workshop. When the tapestry was complete, Elara rolled it carefully and handed it to him. "Hang this above your bed," she said. "When you lie down to sleep, let your eyes follow the threads. Let the story you've told guide you home." Thomas thanked her and left, the roll of fabric heavy in his hands like a piece of the night sky. That evening, he hung the tapestry where she had said, and as he lay down, he watched the silver threads catch the moonlight. Slowly, gently, he felt his eyes grow heavy. For the first time in 3 years, he did not fight the darkness. It welcomed him, warm as a blanket, and led him along the path woven into the cloth. He walked through the maze, past the flowers, and through the window, where he found himself standing on the deck of a ship under a sky full of stars. There, waiting for him with a smile that lit up the night, was the woman he had loved. They did not speak. They did not need to. They simply stood together, watching the world turn beneath them. And for the first time in so long, Thomas felt truly at rest. But Elara's work was never done. In the weeks that followed, others came to her door. A musician whose ears were filled with silence that drowned out music. A farmer who could not remember how to feel the earth beneath his feet. A young girl who was afraid to close her eyes for fear of the monsters she thought lived in the dark. Each time, Elara wove their stories into tapestries, turning their pain into patterns, their fears into paths toward peace. The people of Oakhaven began to whisper of the Moonweavers, and some traveled from far away to seek her help. But Elara never asked for payment, only that those she helped share their stories with others, so that no one would feel alone in their sleeplessness. She knew that every heart carried its own maze, its own darkness, and that sometimes all it needed was a thread to follow. Years passed, and Elara grew old. Her hands, once steady as a rock, began to shake, and her eyes, which had seen into the hearts of so many, grew dim. On the night of her 100th birthday, when the moon was brighter than anyone could remember, she sat before her loom for the last time. She wove a tapestry of her own life, the bookbinder's shop, the lighthouse, the faces of all those she had helped. At its center was a single oak tree, its branches reaching up to the moon, its roots digging deep into the earth. When the tapestry was finished, Elara lay down beneath it and closed her eyes. She did not wake again, but those who came to her workshop found her looking peaceful, as if she had simply drifted off to a sleep from which she would not need to return. They hung her final tapestry above her bed, and to this day, on nights when the moon is full and low over the harbor, those who look closely can see the threads moving, weaving new stories, guiding new travelers' homes. And in Oakhaven, when someone lies awake with worry or grief, they look to the moon and remember the weaver who taught them that even the darkest nights can be woven into something beautiful, that every story, no matter how tangled, has a path to rest.